But seriously, can you imagine? Like, so weird. Hey friends, welcome to another episode of Things That Make You Go Ew, where we talk about the stories in the scriptures that are just super gross and awkward and uncomfortable, kind of like me in middle school.
I'm not Josie Grossy anymore!
But we are trying to clear away any confusion in the scriptures so that we can focus back on Christ. That is the point, right? So let's start our discussion for today. Now, on a scale of 1 to 10, the Judah and Tamar story is an 11. It is about as bad as it gets. And by the way, this is a friendly warning to anyone who is watching with kids that this topic in general is PG-13. Even if I'm presenting it in the most G-rated way possible, it's still PG-13. Because I mean, you've got a young widow who dresses up as a harlot and becomes pregnant with her father-in-law's child. We're gonna dive right into that one today. And we are gonna try to figure out why Tamar was so very desperate for a child from Judah's family line. So let's get to it. All right, now as a little bit of background, Judah was one of Jacob or Israel's 12 sons. But unfortunately, unlike his amazing brother Joseph, Judah was not all that great. He committed a lot of sins, which unfortunately we get to read about. And he ended up marrying outside of the covenant to a Canaanite woman named Shelah.
That was his biggest mistake.
Now, together, Judah and Shelah had 3 sons who they named Onan, and Shelah. Now, we do not get a lot of detail about how they raised these boys or what their parenting style was, but we do know that they managed to raise at least 2 completely rotten children.
The worst, really the worst.
Now, was their oldest son, and he was so rotten that the Lord actually killed him. Yeah, that is how bad he was. And obviously, this was very sad for Judah's family, but it was especially sad for wife, Tamar, who was now a widow and was also childless because had died before they were able to have any children. Now, this is sad anytime, but up to this point, it's just kind of sad, right? Like, where's the ooh part? Well, this is where things start to get a little bit confusing and a whole lot of ew.
That sounds fun.
Because after death, Judah goes to his next son, Onan, and he says, "Go in unto thy brother's wife and marry her and raise up seed to thy brother." Which brings up 2 important questions, okay? So first, why is Tamar being passed between brothers? Like, what is up with that? And then second, why is Onan now supposed to raise up seed for his dead brother and not for himself? Okay, so first, the reason Tamar was basically bequeathed to her brother-in-law Onan was because of something called Levirate marriage. Yes, Levirate marriage, and that is your cool new phrase for the week. You can impress all of your friends and everyone in Sunday school with that. Trust me, they will love it.
Oh, no, they won't.
What does Levirate marriage mean, though? Well, it was basically set up under the law of Moses as a custom for a woman who was both widowed and childless to then be married to her dead husband's brother or to another very close relative. So it wasn't necessarily strange during that time that Tamar would marry her brother-in-law. That would actually be kind of expected, but seriously, can you imagine? Like, so weird. But second, why did Judah tell Onan that he was supposed to raise up seed to his brother and not to himself? And this is actually a really big part of Tamar's story. So in ancient Israel, when a man died without any children, that was the end of his family line. So he had no heirs, and the scriptures even say that his name could potentially be blotted out in Israel, which is a big deal, right?
I don't want that to happen to you.
But then there was an additional issue of what would happen with the dead man's inheritance. Like if it went to his widow and she ended up marrying someone else, would she take that inheritance away from the family? So in order to prevent all of these possible problems, a widow who did not have a child was married to her brother-in-law, who would then provide an heir for his brother to whom that inheritance would go. Does that make sense?
So that makes perfect sense.
I think it does. Okay, great. All right, but let's get back to Onan. So Onan went ahead and he married his sister-in-law like he was supposed to. Good job. But in a totally TMI section. of the Old Testament, totally TMI, we find out that he made very sure that he did not actually provide her with an heir for his brother, which is not good. Not good, Onan. Because doing something like this was actually such a big deal that there had been a provision made in the law of Moses for a woman in this situation. So Tamar now had the right to publicly remove Onan's sandal, spit in his face, and call him out. Sweet revenge, right? But the Lord actually took matters into his own hands and he just killed Onan like he had okay? Poor Tamar. So she's had 2 husbands and still no heir.
That's awful.
So now she's looking for another husband, and her father-in-law Judah promises her, that his last son Shelah will marry her when he comes of age. Gross, right? Waiting for your husband to be old enough to marry you. Just, ugh. But in true soap opera style, because that's what the Old Testament is, it's a big soap opera, when Shelah was old enough to finally marry Tamar, Judah didn't offer him to her, and that made her mad. Oh, she got so mad. So what does she do? Does she go talk to her father-in-law, right? Does she approach the local sheriff and say, hey, he wronged me? No, what she does is she takes off her mourning clothes, which apparently she's been wearing for years now, and she dresses up as a harlot, and she goes out and sits in the open where she knows her father-in-law will pass by.
Aww, I don't like where this is going.
Now, obviously and unfortunately, she knew her father-in-law really well because he was tricked by her disguise and he spent a night with her during which she became pregnant. Gosh. But this pregnancy, it resulted in Tamar having twins whom she named Pharez and Zara. And so she finally, after all this effort, got the long waited for heir for her first husband, which, hooray, happy ending, right? Ugh. I mean, why is this story even included in the scriptures? Why do we have to read about this?
That's a good question.
Well, there happens to be a really, really great reason that it's in there. Because if you jump forward almost 2,000 years and you read the book of Matthew in the New Testament, you are going to see some familiar names. Matthew chapter 1 is basically the family history of Jesus Christ through Joseph. And guess who is included in it? Judah, Tamar, and their son Pharez. That is right. Jesus was descended from ancestors who were totally imperfect, right? They committed serious sins, and yet he was still perfect, which is an amazing lesson for all of us, that your family history does not determine who you can be. You can choose who you are.
Inspiring. Truly inspiring.
Okay, friends, I hope this explanation helped you take this really ew moment in the scriptures and turned it into an aha moment instead. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure that you give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And I will see you guys later. You are awesome.